It was supposed to be a lighthearted morning segment, just Blake Shelton, the country music superstar, dropping by today with Jenna and friends to talk about his new album, a Nashville charity concert, and life after The Voice. But what viewers got instead was something unforgettable. The segment began as expected, with co-host Jenna Bush Hager smiling brightly, welcoming Blake to the sofa. They joked about his love for Oklahoma, his dog's bad haircut, and even traded a few playful barbs about his friendship with Jimmy Fallon. But things turned quickly when guest co-host Mia D'Angelo, an outspoken influencer, brought in for Fresh Perspectives Week, pivoted unexpectedly. "Blake," she said with a forced smile, "you always talk about your roots, but don't you think your music's become a little too Hollywood lately?" Blake chuckled at first, assuming it was a joke, but Mia doubled down. "Tractors, but live in LA half the time." Is that authentic or marketing? The studio fell silent for a beat. Jenna visibly stiffened. Blake's smile faded just enough to register the shift. "I didn't know I was being cross-examined," he said with a tight grin. Laughter was nervous now. Something had cracked open. Jenna tried to steer the conversation back, asking about Blake's recent duet with his wife Gwen Stefani, but Mia wasn't done. "Even that duet," she interjected, "was more pop than country. Do you worry about losing your audience, the ones who loved you before The Voice?" Blake leaned back, arms folded. "Do you worry about asking real questions instead of reading tweets for clout?" he shot back. The air thickened, producers in the control room scrambled, signaling Jenna to cut to break. But she hesitated, trying to smooth it over with charm. "Y'all, let's not get too spicy, it's only 9:14 in the morning." The audience gave a nervous laugh, but Blake's eyes didn't leave Mia's. "You know," he said quietly, "I came here because I thought we'd have a good time, talk about the music. But if this is what Fresh Perspective means, cheap shots I'll pass." And with that, he stood up. For a second, it seemed like he might just walk off. Jenna reached out instinctively, placing a hand on his arm. "Blake, come on," she said. "We love having you here." He paused. "Not all of you," and then he was gone off camera, out the side door. Live on national television. What happened next was pure chaos for the studio. Producers rushed to commercial. Jenna sat stunned for a moment, while Mia simply looked down at her cue cards. During the break, there was visible tension backstage. Staffers trying to reach Blake's team were met with silence. Social media, however, had already exploded. Clips of Blake's quiet fury and sudden exit were everywhere within minutes. Some fans praised him for standing his ground. Others criticized the show for letting the tone shift so sharply. Hashtags like #BlakeWalks and #TodayShowMess started trending across Twitter and TikTok. Speculation began immediately. Was this real? Was it staged? Jenna returned from break with a practiced smile, apologizing to viewers for a little unexpected turbulence, then quickly shifted focus to a cooking segment. But everyone knew something major had just happened. The incident overshadowed the rest of the day's broadcast. Even rival shows began mentioning it, some praising Blake, others defending Mia's journalistic courage. Either way, the story had legs on. It was sprinting. Back at his hotel that afternoon. Blake reportedly turned down all requests for comment. TMZ claimed someone from his management team said he was completely blindsided by the tone of the interview. The next morning, Blake posted a cryptic tweet. "Country music is about honesty, not ambushes." That single tweet got over 150K retweets in hours. Meanwhile, Mia went live on Instagram, defending herself. "I'm a fan of Blake's music," she said, "but I also think it's okay to ask tough questions. We can't be afraid of real conversation." Comments were split. Some applauded her, but many called her out for disrespecting a guest who came in good faith. Jenna, caught in the middle, released a short statement through the show's official account. "We love and respect Blake Shelton and hope to welcome him back in the future." But insiders said that off-camera, Jenna was furious not just about what happened, but about how little control she had once things escalated. Trust within the show's production reportedly took a hit. Within days, the fallout reached beyond morning TV. Country music stations started playing Blake's new single, Flatland Heart, on repeat, interpreting its lyrics about media. Storms and Truth ignored as a direct reference to the incident. Podcasts dissected every frame of the broadcast. Clips were slowed down, analyzed for micro-expressions, and dubbed with dramatic piano. The whole thing became part of the internet's media lore. Meanwhile, industry insiders began whispering that Blake's appearance had already been tense going in. One anonymous staffer claimed Mia had planned those questions ahead of time and was encouraged by a producer to poke a little. If true, that added fuel to the fire, suggesting the clash may have been semi-orchestrated for views. NBC denied the claim. Still, viewership for the episode skyrocketed in post-air numbers. It became the most replayed Today with Jenna and Friends segment in 3 years. Everyone had a take. Everyone had a theory. And Blake, he kept quiet, over the next week. Jenna tried to move on. The show brought in light guest bakers, kid inventors, even a mini pig in a tutu. But the vibe was off. She looked tired at one point. An emotional moment with a veterans charity nearly brought her to tears. "We're here for joy," she said, voice shaking. "That's why I show up every day." The audience clapped supportively, but the elephant in the room remained. Where was Blake? Would he come back? Rumors swirled that NBC had reached out privately with an apology. Still, Blake made no public appearance. He skipped a scheduled live performance in Central Park. Fans outside held signs reading "We Stand." With Blake, meanwhile, Mia doubled down again, posting another video where she claimed being a woman asking questions in a country music space makes you a target. This sparked new waves of debate. The story, far from dying, had morphed into a conversation about authenticity, celebrity control, and gendered double standards. Talk shows across networks picked it up. Blake had become a symbol even if he didn't want to be. Eventually, a week later, Blake appeared in a surprise interview not on NBC, but with a country radio host from Nashville. It was a calm, slow-paced conversation. When asked about the walk-off, he smiled and said, "Some rooms just ain't worth singing in." That line went instantly viral. T-shirts, mugs, and memes were made overnight. "Ain't worth singing" in trended as both a phrase and a fan campaign. Still, Blake avoided naming Mia or Jenna directly. "They do what they do, I do what I do," he said. He did, however, confirm he wouldn't return to Today with Jenna and Friends anytime soon. That confirmation hit like a bombshell. NBC reportedly considered issuing an official on-air apology, but internal debate stalled the plan. Jenna, for her part, made a heartfelt appeal at the end of one episode. "We all make mistakes. I just want the good people in this world to know they're always welcome here." The audience applauded, but many still wondered if the damage was done. Months passed, and Blake continued touring. His new music leaned heavier into traditional country tones. Critics noticed and liked. "It feels like Blake found his voice again," one article said, ironically, by walking away from a platform that tried to mold him. Meanwhile, Today, with Jenna and Friends, underwent subtle changes. Mia didn't return as guest co-host. New producers were brought in, interviews became more guarded, and Jenna herself, while still sunny, seemed a bit more scripted. Some fans noticed. Others moved on. But the Blake incident left a mark. People remembered it became shorthand in the industry. Whenever a celeb declined an interview, someone in the room would whisper, "We don't want another Blake moment." The legacy of that clash wasn't just about one walk-off. It had changed the tone of morning TV forever.